it looks like we're heading to an intensification of industrial unrest. And we have a Labour Party that is sacking its front benchers who attend picket lines and failing to stand up for workers. The Green Party obviously has stood firmly behind the trade union movement in its claims around better pay in line with inflation, working conditions, and decent work. Now, given that context, given the Labour Party's move to the right under Keir Starmer, its abandonment of the trade union movement, how do you think the Greens can utilise this particular moment, and it will rumble on for several months, to demonstrate that the Greens are a legitimate force of the left, and to utilise that for political development and ultimately to gain political power?
I think this is a really good question. It's a timely question for me because, as people know, I'm often out on picket lines, and it's something that is dear to my heart. And I just want to shout out Matthew Hull and the Green Party Trade Union Group, who have been doing brilliant work, both in encouraging elected and non-elected Green Party members to get to picket lines, to get involved with the trade union movement. And I think it's really important that that work is deeply embedded, and it's not just that, one person turns up on a day and speaks at people. I think it's genuinely about what is our new relationship with the trade union movement and how do we foster that. And that's gonna be cause ruptions. And I've had this just yesterday. A Labour Assembly member who I work with on the London Assembly, who their transport spokesperson. I don't want to name them directly because actually they're generally a good egg, and this isn't me kind of encouraging fire at them. But they were bothered that I'd been at the picket line and that I commented that Sam Tarry had been fired. And they said that this was rank opportunism and Greens needed to stay in their lane. And this is not about that individual. It's about a Labour mentality that they are entitled to trade unions votes, to workers votes. And I'd also add that to people of colour and working class communities, although it's a separate but related conversation. I think what we need to be doing essentially is solidarity. So it can't just be creating policies or just saying things. We do genuinely need to do the work. And that's why today I went to the picket line. I didn't just turn up for a photograph, generally went and listened to people and talked about their concerns. And it was things like, one point I had a conversation today with someone on the executive about the universal basic income, something I'm very passionate about. And in London, something I've been pushing London Mayor Sadiq Khan on. The mayor's now said to me that he will think about doing a pilot if I can prove it can work. So I've commissioned some research into that. And that could bring 100,000 Londoners out of poverty. So I think we've got good solutions to this. It was really clear to me that some people in the trade union movement were really skeptical about universal basic income. And that's something I've known for a long time. It wasn't news to me, but it was really useful to be able to almost have an informal chat to say, okay, what is your worry about this? And without catastrophizing, they said they think it's a right-wing thought experiment. And just as they said it, I was really clear that the gulf between where the policy is and what it is and people's expectations or worries of it are completely different. And I think, as Greens, we can dig in and just say, no, we're right. Or we can go, okay, that is a gap we need to work on here. So I'm going to go back to my office. I'm going to look at not only speaking to communities, but actually how can I do genuine work with trade union movements to find out their concerns about UBI and make sure that we can deal with those concerns before we make proposals. All right, that's a slight tangent there. But that's one thing. I think it's solidarity, genuinely listening to the concerns of people, not just speaking at them, not notifying them of things, but actually genuine consultation and working with people. That's not just trade unions, that's anyone, anytime. And then I think it's the second part, which again is where Matthew Hull, Alexander Salons have been doing great work, which is looking to create policy in the Green Party movement that speaks to these people. And I think we have been guilty as a party of being cerebral, of being heady, and those things are important. I'm never knocking good financial, economic sense or good credible policies, but they absolutely have to be interesting and they have to speak to people. And I think we can have the best manifesto in the world, but if when we get on TV and radio, we don't have something exciting, interesting to say, then it's never going to cut through. And not even is it not going to cut through, TV companies, radio companies just aren't going to have us on because they can find other politicians with better, more entertaining ways of saying things. Now, we have to be careful there. I don't want us just to become an entertainment piece. We're not just there to pitch wild and radical things, but I do think we need to find ways of saying our policies which will genuinely change people's lives in an interesting, informative way that will speak to people. And I think that's what we need to do with the trade union movement too.